Hello friends, this is Amit. Today I am going to explain about association mapping. Before of that, I just quickly want to refresh what we had completed. So we are aware about now the simple mapping, where we already see about how we can map with the wrapper class, a string, date and different type of single variables. After that, we already understand about the collection mapping, where we already see that how we can map with list, set, map, array and bag. And last video where I presented inheritance mapping, where we already see that table per subclass mapping, table per class mapping and table per concurrent class mapping. So if we have a single variable, we can utilize a simple mapping kind of thing. If we have a collection variable, we can utilize a collection mapping thing. If we have any classes that inheritance relationship means child or superclass relationship is there, then we can utilize a inheritance mapping. And next kind of mapping is there, that is association mapping. So association mapping means if we want to establish the relationship among different persistence classes, then we have we want association mapping with different classes. So we can utilize, depending on the cardinality, we can say that we can utilize three type of association mapping here, that is one-to-one mapping, one-to-many mapping and many-to-many mapping. Other thing is there, depending on direction, means which direction we want to access that object, that we can say that then depending on the direction there are two type of association mapping available. One is unidirectional mapping, where only one direction we can access the object, and second is the bidirectional mapping, means both that direction we can access the object. So according to the cardinality relationship, number of objects participating in relationship in both the side. For example, I created one a student and so I just created one student and address. So we can say that one student is here that have exactly one address. So left side one student is participating and right side only one address is participating. So both side is participating only one instance of the particular object. So left side a student, that exactly one address is there, right side. So we want to map, we want to establish the relationship between a student and address, and here I exactly say that the cardinality relationship, number of objects participating in a relationship in both the side. So here two object is participating, left side a student is participating and right side address is participating, but both side only one object is participating. So this kind of relationship is called one-to-one. The same example, if we think only one student that have a many address, or only one student that have a many phone number, or one student they are attending a many classes. So among of that, a student is a single but classes is a multiple, subject is a multiple. So here left side is a one, right side is a many. So we can say that one to many relationship. And think about that, right side is a class and left side is class, a student. So multiple student participating in multiple classes and multiple classes participating in multiple student. So if both side is participating many number of objects, then we can say that this kind of relationship is many to many. So here exact, if we want to establish the relationship among different persistence classes, so here no relationship between a student and address, but we want to establish this relationship, means relationship I am saying that before of that we already see that inheritance mapping, where we have a relationship among different object, like that a student, regular student, old student, current student, new student kind of thing. A student have a two subclass that is a old student and new student. Means as new student have a relationship with a student, that is a inheritance relationship. But here association mapping, address class is a individual class, student class is individual class, so no direct relationship between of that, but we want establish the relationship. So here we can say that one student have exactly one address, one student may have many addresses, so one addresses belong to the multiple student kind of relationship we can establish. So I just want to explain about that. Here the cardinality relationship we can establish three way. One to one means left side one object will be participating, right side also one object is participating. Here left and right means here two-way communication is established, one left side here, one right side here. So a student is left side participating, address is right side participating, and both have exactly one. So here left side a student is there, right side a student address is there, and both only one object is participating, means only one student have only one address. So one student have exact one address. So here one. So we can say that this is a one to one relationship. Here one to many relationship when we think about the same scenario with one student mobile number. Maybe one student have multiple mobile number, or one student they are studying the multiple subjects. So they are interested in multiple subject. They are study Java, .NET, PHP. So one student study multiple technology. So one to many. This and many to many means both left side and right side, both many object is participating in this operation. But through that student object, if we get address, and again the address, it will get the student name. If we pass some student address, then we will get the particular student information. If we pass the student information, then we will get the address information. So this is a two-way, either unidirection means only one way. We pass the student information, we will get the address, but we will pass the address, we cannot get the student. So this is a unidirectional, only one way we can establish the relationship. Bidirectional means both type. Through a student object we can get the address, through address object we can get the student. So here association mapping, they want to establish the relationship between the two different classes. They not have any relationship, but we want to establish the relationship, either one to one relationship, either one to many relationship, either many to many relationship as our project requirement. In the direction wise, we can establish either through one object we can get the second object, or the same example, through the left object we can get the right object, but through right object we cannot get the left object. Here through a student object we can get the address. If we have a student object in our ORM tool, then we can get the address, but if we have a address object we cannot get the student. So this type of is a unidirection, only one direction we can access the object information. But bidirection means if we have a student information, if we have a student object, we can get the address, or if we have an address, then we can get the student. So both direction we can access. So here the thing is that we can establish association mapping in three way: one to one, one to many, many to many, as well as in all the mapping either we can utilize one to one, we can establish unidirectional relationship, we can establish bidirectional relationship. Same thing, if we want to use one to many mapping, we can utilize unidirection as well as bidirectional. Again, if we want to utilize many to many mapping, we can also utilize unidirectional and bidirectional on many to many relationship. So association mapping By cardinality, it is a divide in three way: one to one, one to many, many to many. By direction, it will define two way, unidirectional and bidirectional relationship, that I already explained about that. How many object is participating left side and right side, that will be defined either it is one to one, either it is one to many, or either it is a many to many. Same thing here, I just want to show you. So yeah, so one to one mapping I will start now, and I will see that how we can map with a student and address, and through that core the configuration with XML, and the same thing how we can map with annotation mapping. So but just I want to explain about that first, the concept of one-to-one mapping, then later it's very easy when we try to develop our projects. So here consider the following relationship between a student and address that I already explained. Left side the student is there and right side address is there. So just think about that word has a means a student has a address has a student. This is a one-to-one relationship. When you utilize this verb has a, you just think this is a one-to-one relationship, like a student has a address, okay, address has a student. So when we can utilize that verb has a, it will be defined that it is going to establish association mapping, and it's fall down under the one-to-one mapping. So here a student, we are going to create a student ID, name, address, and address have ID, street, city, state and zip. So the same thing we are going to, I just quickly give overview how we can add it, and we can map that same thing in code, and there we can easily understand what we are going to do. But here just try to understand the one small thing. So here Hibernate mapping only we have to change, other thing the code and all we can going to utilize exactly same what till now be utilized. So just you try to understand the mapping thing. So here when we are going to use one-to-one mapping, we will utilize many-to-one mapping tag. So don't confuse about this. When you are going to utilize one many-to-one tag, it is actually point to one-to-one relationship only. So don't confuse about if it is a one-to-many, then we are going to utilize a one-to-many kind of thing. This is a one-to-one itself, and here itself we provide a name, class, column, and not null true. This thing it is optional, we can provide this thing. And address, this one is a unidirectional, means only one directional we can access. So here you don't need to provide anything, you just have to provide a class information, and you have to register as it is what we are using. Just add one lazy false. We will explain about later what is a lazy false. No need to understand here, just add this thing. And the same means property what we are using previously, nothing, no changes here. And Hibernate configuration we have to add the as it is. It's not no big deal. Only one thing we have to think about here, we have to register many to one tag. Under that we will utilize all. Before of that we are using a class here, so just replace class with one-to-many tab and utilize as it is. Here address you no need to change anything, use with the class tag itself and register your class and your table name and all the property registered here. Nothing, no changes here. You just need to map with your particular both the classes here, map resource with this one, and just run it, it will work fine. We'll see how we can create this application. So first we will start with the core configuration. After once the core configuration is work fine, we will go to the annotation configuration. So I already have created this project, so I don't want to kill more time. So here I just want to go with start with the Hibernate configuration.xml. So under the Hibernate configuration.xml, as it is, we know about that session factory is an object where we going to store the particular database related information. So one session factory is responsible for one database. If you want to create a multiple database connectivity, we have to create a multiple session factory object. Each and every video I am explaining about that, and I will show you that how the multiple database connectivity is happen and how we are how exactly we will use it to writing a multiple database connectivity and where exact utilization. So I will give you the real-time scenario, real-time code also. So here I am going to register same thing. Under the session factory we have to register all the database information. So driver class we are using a MySQL till now, so we register MySQL driver itself. URL here we are going to utilize port number 3307 with MySQL JDBC driver, and we are using a visual path as a database inside the MySQL. We'll check that what is inside that. If something is there, we will drop it and we will recreate it. And now we are using a root as a username and admin as a password. Here dialect means whenever we write something related to SQL or Hibernate runtime system, it will be automatically point to we are using a particular database, so we will generate a particular query or something is related to MySQL. And other is show SQL. I already explained many times. If we write a true here, so we can see that our execution under the console. So some query is created, that insert query, create query, drop query, that will be directly we can see here in the console. After that HBM2 DDL dot auto, here we can use create, add, delete, update kind of thing. So create means if already some table is there, then it will be create new, forcefully will be create it. Update means already table is there, then it will be update. So here we would like to create it. So now we want to map two classes, a student and address, where they have a has a relationship. Has a relationship means we are going to utilize 1-to-1 mapping right now, means exactly one student have exactly one address and exactly one address have exactly one student, means both side 1-to-1 mapping. So here we have to add two mapping resource com.visualpath.hibernate.student.hbm.xml as well as student.hbm.xml. So what is inside that address.hbm.xml we'll see here. So now before of that, if you see here a code lab 5 or anything annotation lab 5, I am using a complete all the code inside the single package. So this is the first program where I split all the packages. I utilize 3 packages to create this one, because then after association mapping I would like to create some design pattern kind of thing where exactly what the project we are creating means industry standard would like to create a code, then how we can write. So here till now we not use any DO data access object, we not utilize any transfer object, so no data design pattern we utilized. We just created one singleton and one factory pattern for creating a session factory. Other than it's a very simple. So I just want to change the thread. I just utilize the packages here. So exactly I created 3 different packages, and inside that particular classes I utilize. Through that means we just started understanding about different packages, and after that association mapping we will create one mini project. There we can utilize industry standard code. So because of that only I created 3 packages. Here client information is here, and util, that what I explained about that we created on singleton pattern utilizing this static try, means we don't want to create a multiple time that configuration and session factory, because this is a one time configuration. So because of that only a static block, through a static block the instantiation of the particular object, means whenever the class is loaded on the memory, that time only this block is executed. And we have a static method that is returning a particular class, means this is a factory method, particular factory method. through that we are getting this instance. So this is a static, so directly class Hibernate util dot get session factory, we can get the session factory object. So this thing we already explained many times, so here you no need to worry about this thing. We have to directly jump on the address.hbm.xml. Here exactly we try to understand how we can map with one-to-one mapping. So here we will start with the Hibernate mapping as it is. We are always starting. After that we will provide the package information where our classes, the entity classes available. After that just start with the class because we are using address. Before to understanding address, we just try to understand the student, that left side information. So this is the main left side student and right address. We are going to utilize unidirection, means once we have the student we will get the address, but when we have an address we cannot get the student. So this is a only one directional. So first we have to register a student, class a student, table name, and this one ID generator increment. So this is a primary key generator algorithm. We have a multiple primary key generation algorithm provided by Hibernate, but we are always using an increment. After it's a separate class, I explain about that different primary key generation algorithm. If even the primary key algorithm is not enough, not sufficient for our project, we can create own primary key generation algorithm and we can register and we can utilize here. So like that we would like to create a primary key that start with the visual path underscore and after that 1 2 3 4 5 like that. So we have to write this primary key algorithm to create that particular primary key, particular pattern of the primary key. But right now what the Hibernate is provided, we are going to utilize it. Until now we utilize only increment. So the some project I will explain about that different ID generator. So after that all the primary all the properties we have to register here, and this is the only many thing. So if you go to the student, so a student have a address. Okay, a student have a address. This is a all thing like a SID. This is a primary key, no need to instantiated here by the constructor, but S name, email and phone as it is we have to register under the property. So when we are go here, that is a property name, email, phone, but we want to establish relationship under the student and address. So this address mapping under the .hpm classes, that we have to understand how we can map it. So if we go to a student class, here we exactly find that we are using a tag that name is many to one mapping. So that is the only thing we have to understand. When we are going to utilize one to one mapping, we have to add the tag that name is many to one. Don't confuse, because one to one mapping we have to add the tag name is many to one, and after that we will provide the particular name of that class where we want to establish one to one relationship, and after that class, the particular class name and column EID we have to provide. That is only configuration is here. And unidirection, we no need to add anything extra in the address we have to configure as it is. We have to map it under the .hvm file as it is. So we will start with the Hibernate mapping. We will provide the package name, we will add the class, even it's not one to one many to one anything, we just add to class address. Here we have to provide a table information. After that ID, we have to utilize a ID primary key generation. So we are using an increment. After we have to property, we have to register. So nothing extra is here. The mapping file, normal mapping file, it is there. We utilize this type of mapping file in many places. Whenever we utilize any class mapping, we utilize the same thing. So no special concept is here. Only one special concept is here. When we use a main left side key like a student, where a unidirectional we are going to utilize, so only one thing we have to register under the student.hbm.xml, this tag many to one, and as it is the other information like a name, class and column we have to add. So this is as it is, nothing change, and the student just have a address and setter getter and parameterized constructor and default constructor. After that address, so address no extra thing It's as it is very normal entity, very normal Pojo classes. It have a parameterized constructor, it have a default constructor, and it have a for field. So the next thing is there, that client. So one client, again it not have anything extra. So we have, through the session factory we'll get the session. See Hibernate util dot get session factory. See Hibernate util, already I explained that how we can creating means through that static initialization the particular instance, and after that through factory method we are returning that particular instance. So here address class have a very normal nothing extra effort here, it's as it is. And so we'll create a student object. After the creating a student object, we will create address object, and we will add session.save both student and address. So up to that it is a save. Even this commit is not required. I just added tx.commit, and after that I just want to load the student address like that, different. This is a primary key. Address.class session.load is a default, means a predefined method in the session classes. So it will be load particular classes, and here we will pass the primary key, that unique identification. Through that we can get. I will change it and I will show you how it is working. So one-to-one mapping, it is a very simple, nothing extra we have to put the effort. Only one thing we have to worry about, that whenever we going to configure .htm left side, because we are using a unidirectional, not in both directions, so we no need to worry about that. Only one place we have to specify the particular many to one tag, and all the thing as it is, what we will utilize in any inheritance mapping or any collection mapping or normal mapping thing, we will utilize the same concept, nothing change here. And just we will run it and we will see that how it is working. So before running it, we will just check that database connectivity is correct or not. So we are using a visual path. Just check visual path have something or not. A MySQL command front. So just type the password and we'll show that database. Sorry. So we have visual path already there, so we'll just drop it. Drop database. Okay. So it's drop. So now visual path is not there, so just create a database. Okay, and then we will use it. So very new database is there, just so tables, so no, nothing is there. It is a very fresh database we created. So we'll just run it and check that how much table is created, what data is there. So I just want to, before that I just want to explain that here up to that we are creating one address on a student and we are added under the database. After that we just try to load all the information as it is, it's nothing changed, so we just try to add. So a student dot get s name, get email and get phone, all the information in the student, and here address information, we will get the address related thing. So we'll just run it first and see that how many table is created and how the information is storing in the database. We are running in Java application. Yeah, so this is showing here because of this tag. So SQL true, so we will not write here true, or we just delete this line, you will write here false, then we cannot see this query generator. So exact what is there we cannot get it. So now we'll select the table, so we see that we have a two table. So select start from address. So we have one address here, and that AID is 1, street is OMR, city is Chennai, and state is Tamil Nadu, and we just check that what is the student. So one student is here, that SID is 1, S name is Amit, and email, phone number, and EID. Here it is a map with EID. So it is a unidirection. Why? Because here a student have a information of particular EID, this address, but this EID don't have a information of particular SID. So this is a unidirectional. Only one directional means if we have a student object, we can get the address information also, but if we have a address information, we cannot get a particular student information. And other one thing we understand here, that load. Till now we deal with session.save. One new thing come here, session.load. Session.load. So it will load the particular class. So we are going to load address class information, and we are passing 1. 1 is a primary key. So this address class have EID 1. So one related information it will be passed. So what exactly happen if we pass here 2 or something? That is not there. So a student we want to session.load a student.class, that unique ID is 2. Just run. 2 is not there because we inserted only one row, and we try to execute the second information. So we got the clear message, no row with the given identifier exists, a student 2. So a student with 2 primary key, that information is not available in the particular database. So this is a one big advantages of ORM tool as a Hibernate. So whatever the means problem we will find in the runtime system, or when we are running the particular Hibernate code, the exception handler will provide exact information, through that we can understand where the problem is and how we have to solve it. So very clear picture is there. But when we are using a JDBC code, we will maximum do that print stack trace, where we not get the multiple information. Well, we will not get the exact position where exception is happening and what we have to do. But here the messaging is very clear. It show that exactly where the problem is there and what is the problem. So here if we have only one row, or that primary key is 1, and we try to load the classes, that primary key is not available in the particular table, so we have only 1, so it will throw the particular exception. It will be pinpoint exception. So this is a core. Same thing we can do in the annotation as well. So annotation we will see exact where the changes is there. So we no need to change anything here. We just have to change one mapping. So before of that, here we are using a mapping resource, so we have to provide mapping classes. and we have to add annotations here. So only that thing we have to change. So now we'll see that what exactly we have to change on the annotations. So first thing we have to change that util classes, that C Hibernate util classes we are using. Many time we explain about that, how we can change that with Hibernate util classes. So before of that, we just have, before that we created a configuration cfg equal to new configuration. Here we created the annotation configuration. So I just use that old code and just try to convert it. Oh, this is the code. And we can exactly understand what the changes is there. So now if we run with the configuration, just try to run it. Okay, so we are here, one to on this one. I would like to close all, close others. So here, so, yeah. So when we will run with annotation with our old configuration, then we will get the particular annotation, that an annotation configuration instance is required to use mapping that pointing class with this thing. Means whenever we use a instant of class resource, this configuration is fine, but when we are using a mapping classes, then we must need this class annotation configuration. So very to the point, pinpointing messages and annotation configuration instance is required to use map class student, class com visual path Hibernate student. So we are using this class path instant of resource, but we have configuration itself, so it will not work. So we have to create here annotation configuration instant of configuration. Annotation configuration, this one, annotation configuration org hibernate.cfg package, like acfg, okay, equal to new annotation configuration, same thing utilize. So acfg, we just hide it and we will call acfg equal to acfg, and it will be, we have to typecast annotation configuration because its return type is this one, but we have a configuration here. So now it is working fine, and we will run the same code here. This is fine, no problem. So whenever you find some exception or something, try to find out where exactly problem. So here if you see that, one more thing I would like to explain about that, like that before old code, like again we try to access with the configuration itself, and I will run it. So one more thing I would like to explain here, it will be point out that null pointer exception, it will come one-to-one client dot java in line number 18. So one-to-one client java, what is a line number 18? It will be a session dot open session, or when C Hibernate util dot get session factory, after then we try to open the session with the particular resource where we register with the classes, not in resource, then we are getting an exception. So through that, the line number, you also try to understand what exactly exception is. And whenever you're going to write a Hibernate code, definitely you will get a lot of exception at the first time or something. But try to read that exception and check that where exactly you're getting the exception, then it will be very easy to understand. It is I just want to explain, want to add this thing, because if you read that log, that exception log, it's a very easy to you to solve your problems. So we'll go back with the annotation configuration, and other than this C Hibernate util, we have a change in hibernate.cfg.xml. here before of that we are using a resource with file system path, but now we are using a class with a class system path, like a com.visualpath.hibernate student or com.visualpath.hibernate.address be added with class. So mapping class com.visualpath.hibernate.student, and only this two entity classes we have to add few annotations. So before of that, if you remember, we are utilizing a many to one tag under the student class. Now we'll see that what is student.java classes and what is the address.java classes is there. So here entity @table @proxy lazy false, this thing we already aware. I will explain about this thing. And id, we are going to generate that primary key id, and column, that same thing, we are not changing anything here. Only one thing is changed here, the tag when we are going to map one-to-one mapping. So here it is a directly pinpointing @1-to-1 we have to add, and we want to join. So here we created a two tables, one is address and one is a student. So a student primary key is SID, but address primary key is EID. So where you want, if you want to add a student with a particular address, so which column we want to add. So this is a SID one, and here we are using a EID. So that you have to provide @join column name is equal to EID, because we are using a unidirectional. When we will have a student object, we can get the address information as well. So here we have to add one-to-one. After join column, we have to provide particular address object SID here. Other thing is as it is, nothing, no changes here. I will check that what is extra thing is here in address class. So you see that address class nothing have anything extra. So we are using entity, we are using a table, we are using a proxy lazy false, id generator int, as it is column, all the configuration is as it is. So no changes is here, only changes in left side classes, means this student classes, because we are going to utilize a unidirectional, means through a student object we can get the address, but through address object we cannot get a student, means the student have address information, address SID, EID, but address don't have a student SID. So one way, like a walkie-talkie, only one way communication is there, but through a student we can get the address, but here address we cannot get a student. So a student address no need to change, as it is we configure. Only a student have a changing here. A student configuration you have to add inside the particular variables where you can want to utilize one-to-one mapping. So one-to-one mapping we want to utilize in address classes. So we will add @1-to-1. After that, join column name, what is the primary of address, or where you want to add with the address. So add have a EID. So we would like to add EID with our SID. So if we pass SID equal to 1, so we will search inside the EID equal to 1 also, and then we will map with the complete object. As it is, nothing changes here. So we'll go to the next C Hibernate util classes. We're done this Hibernate mapping. Here the classes changes, visual path. Before of that we are using resource, that is also done, and address mapping is done as it is, no changes is here. Only one extra field proxy lazy we utilize, and here a student as it is proxy lazy. Only two new thing we introduce here. @1-to-1 tag we will utilize when we want to utilize a association mapping with 1-to-1 with unidirection, and after that @join column we will add, and after that we will provide a name of the particular tables, means what the primary key that particular table is using. So this table is using a primary key EID, so we will provide EID. Means whenever we will get the student like a student SID, I want a student SID street, then we will directly get a OMR, this kind of thing. So we will added only this tag 1-to-1 @1-to-1 join column name equal to EID. EID is a primary key of address table. @1-to-1 join column name equal to EID. Only one changes is here. Through that we can establish the association mapping with 1-to-1 mapping and unidirectional, means through a student we can access address, but address we cannot access a student. So one directional unidirectional 1-to-1 mapping established, and we will run it and see that what's happening. So exactly what we are doing here, 1-to-1 mapping, we are adding this session. After that what we are doing, we are getting that particular address and a student information. We just run it and check that what the output is coming. Yeah, so it's created a student address and added the particular information, and a student object we will get that name is SIDA, name is Amit, that is a email ID, this is a phone, and this one is ESID is particular student information, and SID is through address information map with EID primary key, through a student information map with SID primary key. So EID 1 here, I just want to explain that. So this one is a EID that have OMR Chennai and Tamil Nadu, this thing. So we will see that in table no changes is there because we are using the same code. So a student have SID 1, email Amit @visualpart.com, phone 9999, s name is equal to Amit, EID equal to 1, and that address have EID city state street. And here we have changed only one thing, that changes under the left side classes. We have to add two annotations. Only whenever the terms come 1-to-1 mapping with unidirectional, we just think about only two tag, 1-to-1 @1-to-1 and join column name particular address primary key. So address primary key column name is EID. So we have to add @1-to-1 join column name equal to EID, address equal to this one. No need to worry about anything, it will be create, and as it is we no need to work much more thing. So now I am thinking it is a confirm, that means it is a very clear. If we want to utilize a 1-to-1 mapping with core configuration, then we have to register under the mapping document with the tag many to one or one to many, and after that if we want to utilize with annotation, then we have to utilize a two annotation at the rate 1 to 1 at the rate join column, and name we will have to provide a particular AID. And if we run this one, it will work perfectly, no much more changes is here. So we will quickly look that again, what is association mapping and how we can utilize it. Yeah, so here the association mapping, I will just want to refresh what I explained previously. So if you want to establish the relationship among different persistence classes. Different persistence classes means before of that we utilize inheritance mapping, where we have some relationship between the classes, like the student have two concurrent subclasses, current student, new student, current student, old student kind of thing. So some inheritance relationship is there, but here no relationship is there. Address is separate, student is separate, but here some mapping kind of thing is there. So this type of like a, if we would like to establish relationship this kind of classes, then you have to use association mapping, and depending on the cardinality there is three type of association mapping: one to one, one to many, and many to many mapping. And depending on the direction there is only two type of mapping is there: unidirectional and bidirectional. Now we already explained about that one to one mapping with unidirection. In next video we will see that how we can achieve the same thing in the bidirectional. Means once we have an address object, we will get the student information, as well as when we have a student information we will get the address. So both directional we can access. After that we will learn about how to use one to one mapping and many to many mapping, and which scenario we can utilize one to one mapping, one to many mapping, and many to many mapping. But one thing is there, when we would like to explain about the cardinality of relationship. So number of objects participating in relationship in both sides, it is called, it's part of the cardinality relationship. For example, here in this picture, one student is a left side, one student is a right side. So one student have one address have one student. So this type of relationship is called one to one relationship. And here you that clear picture is come when we can say that this is a one to one relationship. So like that, consider this following relationship between a student and address that I already explained many times. So one student content one address, and one address belong to one student, means its relationship called has a relationship. This relationship called has a relationship, means we'll utilize that word has a, and we will place with a student and address. Means a student has a address has a student, means one to one mapping is established here. And we already see that how, if one to one mapping is there, then how we can establish with the code, and how we will convert into the annotation part. So I just quickly refresh about this thing also. So one to one mapping, when we would like to achieve with the core functionality, with the configuration. So here in the left cardinality, because we are using a unidirectional, so a student have only we have to change, other than we don't no need to change anything. So a student we have to add many to one. After that, name, class as it is, and all other thing like a property, ID, generator, Hibernate mapping, package, table, class as it is, nothing, no changes is required. And whenever we going to utilize annotation, we will see that the same thing, a student have a change. So here we have to register one to one join column thing, and address no need to change anything. So it will work. So only two things we understand. If we utilize a code many to one tag, under that we have to configure it. And whenever we going to utilize a annotation, we can utilize a two annotation, that is a one to one and join column will pass the particular ID. So it is a very clear, very easy. This is the all the classes we can no need to utilize, only create a package for utility classes and com.visualpart.utility. Put the same C Hibernate util here. Even you can utilize a C Hibernate util as it is, that other classes means other project be utilized. You can utilize the same classes with inheritance mapping, and two entity class we have to create, and this two mapping class we have to create. This mapping class we have to register under the Hibernate configuration, and mapping the student.hbm only we have to add that many to one tag, other than as it is, no changes is there, and address student as it is, and client we will just create a session, we will get the session factor, we will save it, and after that we will load the particular object through that primary key, load through utilizing a load method. Same thing if we talk about the annotation, no much more changes is there. Under the student only two tag we have to change, that is a one to one @1 to 1, and other is join column. We will provide a name of the particular address primary key, and through that we can map it. So either we want to utilize a code, either we want to utilize annotation, no big changes is there. It will be very easy, but we just need to understand the concept. Which situation we can utilize one to one, which situation we can utilize one to many, and many to many. Even which situation we can compare with the different also. Means if the collection mapping is sufficient, then we no need to utilize this association mapping and all kind of thing. First we will think about the simple mapping. If any mapping will done with the simple mapping, no need to do the collection mapping. If any mapping is done in the collection mapping, no need to go to the next, we can utilize a collection mapping itself. The next is a inheritance mapping, where we are using a one to one, one to many, one to inheritance mapping with table per class, table per subclass, and concurrent classes. So we will utilize that. If it is not enough and we will want to establish a relationship like a has a relationship, a student has a address has a student, then we can directly go to the association mapping, where we can utilize a three concept, that is a one to one, one to many, and many to many, and direction wise, unidirection and bidirection. Unidirection means only one way, through only one object we can get the one information, and other than other object we cannot get the first object information. So it is a very clear, very quick. Just go through that video, just try to create the same code and run it, and I am thinking it is a very easy, will not get any problem. If you get any exception kind of thing, just read it. It will be a very clear pinpointing messages. I think you can handle it. And next video I will explain about that bidirectional, same thing, one to one, and after that one to many and many to many. Till now, thanks to watching video. I just suggest that go through that video and try to grab all the concept and just create a same type of project and run it. I think it is a very easy, and it is a very means you have to just understand about that difference between one to one, one to many, many to many. You no need to worry about that how we can configure. Till now, thanks to watching a video. The next video I will come with bidirectional, one to one, one to many, and many to many. Thanks a lot.